On social media, I come across some of the dumbest advice when it comes to career or profession. And I can't even begin to explain how stupid it is. But I want to help you out here real quick and just share some advice that I've gathered from working with professional athletes of multiple levels, the highest level to lower level professional athletes, to collegiate athletes, to high school athletes, and something that is an absolute massive takeaway that you can apply directly into whatever endeavor you're trying to accomplish. Whether it is sports and athletics, that's the route I work in, but whether or not it's in a business or some other job setting. So with our professional, any athlete, I'll just give a professional athlete for an example. With a professional athlete, in order to get to the next level as a basketball player, there's probably only a handful of skills that actually need to be improved. Probably no more than 3 total skills, maybe. Those are like rate limiting factor skills. An example would be if I'm a basketball player and I'm big, I'm athletic, but I just can't shoot a basketball that well, a 3-pointer from the corner, which is really valuable to NBA, that's going to be a skill that's limiting my performance to make it to the next level. It's not going to be my ball handling, my passing ability, because there's an infinite number of skills in theory that I could possibly develop. But there's only actually a handful of skills that are actually limiting you from getting to the next level and next stage. And that's the big takeaway. It's so often you hear people preach and talk about, oh, you need to develop this or that. And especially with professional athletes, they see a bunch of guys doing certain drills and they think they need to do those drills. But in reality, they're not even related to their own style of play. And you see the same thing when it comes to people trying to develop stuff in business and whatever it might be. They go, oh, well, I see this person has a whole smorgasbord of skills that I don't have. Therefore, I need to work on all those skills, even though none of those skills that you looked at and saw from this person actually affect your trajectory in your career. More times than not, there's only a handful of skills that you actually need to improve. But there are theoretically, like I said, an infinite number of skills that you could improve. And being able to define what actually matters, the rate limiting skills between the, oh, these are just random skills that have no impact on my life that I could potentially improve, is the difference between having a clear-cut objective path through which you're going to try and improve and just randomly roaming around hoping you accidentally stumble upon one of those skills you need to, kind of like a broke clock that's right twice a day. Sure, you might happen to stumble upon it by sheer luck. You don't know what went right. But if you have a plan, you can actually make progress. So there's 2 things that come out of that. First off is you have to be objective. You have to be honest and you have to be humble. You have to look at yourself and understand what you do and what you don't do well. I think one of the best lines is the smartest person isn't someone who knows exactly what to do. The smartest person is someone who knows what they don't know. If you knew exactly what to do, this process would be really easy. But that's not just how the world works. You don't just get to go read a book, now you're smart, and now you can go accomplish everything. Life is far too variable to have it completely mapped out. Instead, it's more like, I know I don't know X skills. I know I don't know these. Therefore, I can go seek out those skills, develop them, and then refine them through application and practice. Now, there is a possibility that the skills you defined were incorrect. They're not the skills that were the rate limiting skills. And that's actually okay, because in this kind of framework, you have a plan, you have a process or a method, and then you have feedback as to whether or not those skills that you identified were rate limiting factors. Now, maybe those skills weren't rate limiting factors because you didn't ask the right people the right questions. You didn't ask, for example, in basketball, player evaluation, what skills I need to work on, how am I going to be utilized in the offense. And so you just kind of picked a couple of skills that you thought, even though they weren't the right ones. But that's fine because you tried, you had identified some things that you were lacking, you went and found information on it, and then you had a feedback process to tell you that wasn't right. So then you can identify why something wasn't right. And that's the big difference between just randomly roaming around and trying out different skills and hoping one works. There's no plan of action. There's no feedback. There's no time frame. There's no what they call feedback loop. This is what they call in the business side of things, where if you read a book like The Lean Startup, you build something, you measure something, and you learn from it. In this case, it's just like we build a plan, then we measure whether or not the plan worked, and then we have feedback as to whether or not we should continue down that path or change it. So at the end of the day, there really isn't like, whether I'm an athlete or whether I'm in my own personal business life, whatever it might be, there's always going to be like a near infinite number of things you theoretically could do. And it is wildly overwhelming at times when you don't have any clear-cut trajectory as you want to do, and you might, as you want to be, I should say, a clear-cut trajectory as who you want to be. This is who I am now. This is the role I want to achieve. What are some things that I'm missing to fulfill those voids that would otherwise, once filled, allow me to be in that next level? Instead, you kind of say, well, this is me, and maybe you're not very honest with yourself, and you think certain things you're really bad at, you're actually good at, or you don't even bother to objectively look at yourself, and you just try to acquire random skills that you hear about on social media, or you hear about other athletes performing and doing, and you do those skills, and then you hope magically one of those was actually correct, and then you get there, and let's say you get there and you want to go to the next level. Well, you didn't even know what worked the first time, so again, you go just search arbitrarily. Versus you have a plan, you have feedback, you have measurement, and you can see whether or not you have succeeded. In one of the processes, it's a near equivalent to just taking a whole bunch of ingredients, dumping them into a bowl, mixing it up, and hope something good comes out. Versus you have an actual list of ingredients, you put them together, you identify how those ingredients interact, and now you say, oh, well, we should add a little bit of salt here or take a little bit of pepper out here, and this is going to give us the product that we'd like to have. So at the end of the day, things are not as confusing as it might seem. And I think people want to make things more confusing than it might be, because when we make things really confusing, if I confuse the person on the other end of this video, I can try and sell you something afterwards that's going to help bring clarity to your life, because I just made you really confused, and now I'm going to offer a solution to that confusion by giving you lots of clarity. Well, how could I possibly know what you need? That's ridiculous. Instead, it's a framework of thinking that's going to work, and this is the framework of thinking that helps build different apps, build great products, drives innovation. If that framework is good enough for innovation, product development, and some of the best companies in the world, well, that framework of thinking I can also probably apply in a parallel fashion to my performance side, my sporting side when I work with my athletes, or in your own personal life, business side, and everything else in between. So I hope that helps. I hope that gives a little more direction and a little more framework. You want to identify what you are good at and what you are not good at. You want to identify what things you're not good at are rate limiting factors to your next performance, your next, advancement, I should say, whether that is in performance side of things like basketball, or whether that's in your business side of things or your life side of things. And then you can go on and find ways to actually acquire those skills, means and methods to do so. And once you have acquired those skills, you can reevaluate whether or not they were the rate limiting factors, and if they were not, what went wrong on your initial investigation process, and what you can do better next time. And this gives us some momentum to continue to keep learning versus just this arbitrarily roaming about in the existence of reality and hoping things come out better than they were before. So I hope that makes sense. I want to share that with you all here. As always, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you guys. Take care, and I hope you enjoy.